Konnichiwa mina, boku wa Jeremy desu. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. I apologize early on because this could very well be a very long video, depending. I just finished watching the newest Sailor Moon musical, Un Nouveau Voyage, or as they call it, Un Nouveau Voyage, just the way their phonetics are, and so on. And it's a very long musical, kind of like the other ones, but it was very, very all over the place. And it is just after 3 o'clock in the morning here, so I'm a little groggy and blah. So, but, one thing I'll say right off the bat that I noticed actually right at the very end. Setsuna's earrings in the musical are the right size for her ears. Take note of that when you do Sailor Moon Crystal. Alright, Toei? When you do Sailor Moon Crystal Season 3, little, not overbearing of the entire ear. Just, that doesn't work. Anyway, musical, good. Crystal, not so good. So we'll see how things go. Okay. Right off the bat, the weirdest thing to me was how it just, compared to the first and second one, which did have its differences, this one had a lot of differences. A lot of weird little things that just didn't ring like they should have. But the musicals have always been like that. There's always been a, I forget what you would call it, but just taking that creative, it's creative something or other. Anyway, initiative, I guess, and just changing things a little bit, which is fine. The biggest one was Haruka, and being an idol for singing. Now, I could be wrong, maybe it's because it's so late, but I really don't remember that. Being in there, Haruka was an idol, male, or like in the male form of Haruka, because of the race car driving and stuff. So having him, because the male persona, as a musical idol, it was weird to me a little bit. I mean, obviously he plays the piano, and Michiru plays the violin and stuff, okay, but still, just, I don't know. I don't remember it being because of music that he was considered an idol. So, anyway, now, the scene, it started out very, very, very quickly, it seems. Like, it just built up so fast. Excuse me. Whoa, excuse me. It built up incredibly fast. Like, it didn't feel like there was quite a build-up to story like there has been in the past with even the most recent of the musicals. Oh my goodness. Excuse me again. Because, I don't know, it just rang really, really strange to me. The way that they did it. It was like, just barreling right into the story, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, I get these sneezing fits every once in a while. I'm sure some of you guys do too, but yeah. So it just, I guess it's nice because it gets right into the action, but sometimes it's nice to have that little bit of extra story too. Although the previous musicals have been criticized, maybe for taking things a little too slow, or, you know, they always had like a specific way of doing things, and this one kind of changed it up a little bit, which is probably a good thing. But to me, it just felt a little rushed. And, but I mean, it worked out. It really did. The whole story came together, and it really worked well. One of my favorite things is on the last day performances, which is what this particular recording happens to be, is the last day in Osaka. So the very last day of the performances completely. And even with like the Anza era, Fumina, Miyuki, Marina, all of that, they would do improv, sort of. They would just insert things in that weren't necessarily in the original script. And one thing I think that this happened with, and I'm so happy that it did because it parallels real life. The girls are graduating, so they're looking at Mugen Gekuin to possibly go to. And Usagi, of course, doesn't make it in. And she's talking about how she can't believe that the 5 girls are graduating. Meaning Usagi, Ami, Rei, Makoto, Minako. But then she turns it around, looks directly at the audience, and she's like, you know, we should, I hope that they can renew our contracts. And she's like, just joking. And you could hear the audience laugh just for a second. And I don't know if everybody caught that, but that, I thought it was quite funny. And, you know, you get little blips of that here, there, and everywhere. And they used to really make it prevalent in the older day musicals, like in the 90s and stuff. Like, they would always have that kind of funniness and just wit. And I like to see that, so I'm really happy. I didn't notice it as much with the other two, with La Reconquista or Petite Étrangère, but it might have been there and I might have just missed it. I'd like to know, for maybe those of you that went, some of my friends there, I know Irulan, you went and saw it live with the glasses and the subtitles and stuff. So I wonder if they had that in there too. Maybe you could tell me, I don't know. One thing that I felt really oddly out of place was in a scene with the witches. They are just sitting around and they make tea, and it's like, oh, your tea's ready. There's props for everything else. Even in the scene when the girls are sitting at the shrine and they're eating, you can see there's noodles in there. They have the chopsticks, everything. Could they not spend like $1 on teacups? Like, the witches were drinking nothing. It was just, it was so odd. It was just a very weird oddity, and it was kind of funny. I chuckled at that. I thought it was an interesting little thing there. Yes, I have notes here, that's why I keep looking down, so maybe I should bring them over here and not take my attention too much away from the camera. So that was really funny, and sometimes it can take away from it, but other times it can add something to it, because it gets you to kind of put your imagination in it. And if you're not really overthinking it, if you're not overanalyzing it, like I sometimes do, you might not have even noticed it, which is kind of neat, because then you're really enthralled into the whole thing. Throughout the thing, especially early on, but they kind of grew on me a little bit more towards the end and throughout. Professor Tomoe, Mimette, and Cowdy Knight in particular were a little off, just a little off to me. But I could see them as they went on. I don't know. It's tough to say why. I'm not even sure I know why, but they just seemed like something was just a little bit off with them. The character, or just the way they played them. I don't know. I really think that they hit like pay dirt with all the rest of the cast, though. They were really great. But now, another thing that keeps throwing me off, again, kind of like that whole thing with Haruka's idol musical thing, is the fact that they keep referring to Mistress Nine as Queen. She's not. She's kind of like a, what would you call it? A vessel for Pharaoh 90, which in itself is not a planet, and the Tau system, not the Tau planet. Again, another weird thing. I don't remember a Tau planet ever being mentioned before in the manga. It's the Tau solar system. But, again, you know, creative, whatever. It's just weird little, like I said, little things. So, but maybe it's like my friend Zach had said before, there's many different incarnations and different worlds of different types of Sailor Moon. There's the original series as we know it. There's the new series of Crystal. There's the the Deke dub, the Cloverway dub, and now the Viz English dub as well. Like, it's all kind of, if you separate them and you have them as their own entities, I guess it works really well. The live action series, all that stuff too. So, but overall, it works. It works for this incarnation that they have. Now, Hotaru / Sailor Saturn / Mistress Nine, so like 3 characters all played by one actress, played by Karen Takahashi. I'm not sure how many people know this, but she's actually from a girl dance unit, singing unit, kind of like along the lines of AKB48 and all that, but they're called Prismy. And this was her first musical, and she gets to play Hotaru. She did really good. You could tell she is very talented, and her actually playing the piano, you could tell she's actually playing the piano. That was very inspired, and I like how they had like requiems and all these classical inferences with a lot of the songs that were being played. So that, kudos to that. And so next to Yuga Yamato, maybe even more well known than her, perhaps just because of how pop music and stuff is, she might be the most well known of the, going into it, of the newer people and stuff, maybe even overall. It's a little bit of a weird, bold statement to say perhaps, but because she was part of this group ahead of time, who knows, maybe she has her own set of fans because of it, and just building up from there. So, but she played her very well. All the outers were played very, very well, and I was so glad to see our Sailor Pluto back. I can't remember her name at this time, but she's my favorite. I love her to bits. She's hilarious, she's so sweet, she's emotional, she reminds me of me a little bit, just in her over-emotionality, and I just think she's really cute, and really, really sweet. So I hope she comes back, because I think, to me, she is the embodiment of Sailor Pluto. And at first it was really awkward when she came in to me, because there wasn't that immediate recognition between her and Chibiusa, but then they played it and it worked out really, really well. And she just jumped right back in, and it was a nice little reunion to have there. The wigs were all very, very good. I mean, Haruka has two. There's the Haruka male form and the Sailor Uranus. They are visibly different, at least on the show. The Haruka wig is really disheveled, kind of. Maybe it's from so much use of taking it on and off, but the Sailor Uranus wig is actually pretty good, in pretty good shape. So that was a little strange. Pluto's wig is a little bit, it's getting there too, so probably a new one for the next musical, maybe just so much moving around, I don't know, but all in all, very, very well done. Even the witches, like their wigs were very good, their costumes were phenomenal, so very, very kudos and good job to the props and wardrobe department, because that's pretty darn good. Even Chibiusa's socks, if you notice, have the little rabbit on them. Mystic Beauty, the song that the Witches 4 sings. So Cyprien isn't in it, and it's interesting to note too that Pidlal doesn't make an appearance in this one. She's probably the only character that doesn't, of the main ones. Kind of like how last year we didn't see the 4 sisters. So, but I guess it'd be hard to have Cyprien and Pidlal, and really it worked out the way they did it. Now, they had different personalities a little bit from the anime, which again is good creative license. Cyprien was kind of the leader, which she's, I guess, as the most powerful of them, even in the original anime series. It makes sense, so that works out. And they had kind of a fun little banter, but I would have loved to see that kind of worked on a little bit more. They kind of got thrown off to the side pretty early on and then come back and then gone again. And I mean, it works. It interweaves pretty well with it, and but it was very reminiscent of last year's with the doubles of the Sailor Senshi. So if they didn't have the like evil Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, and Moon from last year and incorporated that into this one with the witches, it kind of it works. And there's other things that you see from like later on seasons. I noticed that we'll get to in a little bit here, and like I said, it's going to be long because we're already at almost the 14-minute mark. So my apologies. Now, Mystic Beauty sounds like the Sailor Stars musical song. It's Cho Very Bad. Cho Very Bad. I don't know why. It's got this feel to it, and there's actually other songs in this musical that have an older style feel to them. And in this one in particular, I'm just listening to it and I'm reading the lyrics and I'm thinking, wow, this has a very similar personality, if songs can have a personality, of Cho Very Bad, just the way that it was, and how they have the 4, and then they used, the 4 witches singing it, and then you have like the 4 Sailor Animamates from the Sailor Stars musical back in 1996, 97. That's just what I got from it. I absolutely loved that they brought an element from the original anime into this, and that was the switch. where Usagi gets captured by the witches, and then the others come in, and Venus is dressed up as Sailor Moon, and Chibiusa dresses up as Sailor Venus. That was a little bit weird, but it was fun and a nice little nod to it, and I'm so glad that they threw that in, because that was such a funny episode, and it's one of the most well-remembered pieces of Sailor Moon S, the original anime, so I was really, really glad to see that, and then they did the quick change and all that, so that was great. Now, throughout, not just this one, but kind of the other two as well, the series is about Sailor Moon, but you get this feeling like, almost it feels like it's the Yuga Yamato show. And she is the actress that plays Tuxedo Command. Now, I've been told by a good friend of mine, who is in the industry, that she is a very, very well-known, I think it's called Takarazuka player, who was in retirement, who came out of retirement to come into this role to play Tuxedo Command. And so she's very respected, and that's great. But there's a lot of the spotlight always shines on her, and she tends to really eat it up and take it away from the others, perhaps. I don't know. I don't want to sound pessimistic, because she actually, like, even at the end here when they were doing the introductions and stuff, you know, maybe it's because she has the most experience of everybody, and they look at her as like a big sister type of person. You can tell she's very sweet, she's very nice, she is very giving, but sometimes it just kind of feels like it's the Yuga Yamato show, and that it's about her character and her and stuff. So I don't know how else to put it. I don't know if you guys get that same kind of feeling, but anyway, we'll leave it at that. They had a male voice as Pharaoh 90. I don't know who it was. I don't know the name. They never brought a guy out to show. So he's, I guess, the only male in this ensemble cast of the players and stuff. So unless it was a pre-recorded voice that they just played off of, and a voice actor might have done it in the studio, I don't know. But, and it's interesting. I just find that really interesting with that, because everything else is all female and stuff. So I guess they just wanted to have that extra malice, or I don't know, just a voiceless person in there. They could have had a woman do a low voice, but they chose to have a male do it. Very interesting. I think that we finally found the perfect Sailor Uranus and Neptune song. In the previous musicals, they always had kind of weird ones, like Hark Saint Cry, okay, or Harsh Saint Cry, sorry. Very weird to the personalities of Uranus and Neptune. I don't know. And what's the other one? I can't remember the name of that song, but I'm sure you guys know what I mean. Again, it just feels really weird to their personalities. I couldn't imagine, especially these two actresses, doing that. The new Neptune was probably the best Neptune actress I've ever seen. This Sailor Uranus, I don't know. It's hard to... The Sailor Uranuses have been really good. I mean, even in the older musicals, like they've all been really good. I mean, Asami Yuka was probably one of the best Neptunes I've ever seen, but now this one is very good. She's very, very gentle, very sweet demeanor, everything. So worked very, very well. The casting is always very good with the musicals and stuff. So the production values are absolutely amazing. So why can't we get that with Crystal? Why? Unbelievable. Anyway, but Eye of the Storm is probably the best Sailor Uranus and Neptune appearance song in the musical franchise. I would say that. It's like Destined Couple is the best Haruka Michiru song, but probably Eye of the Storm, very, very good song for Uranus and Neptune. And speaking of songs, The Time Is Near is inspired. It was such a great, great song to have Kaori Night and then Neptune and Ray sing it together. And then they interwove them back later on in another medley as they headed towards the middle of the show. And just having them, it's perfect because Cloudy Night is a magus, I guess. Neptune has the mirror and can see things as well as Ray can with her vision. So it works very well. A wonderful, wonderful song. And one of my favorites in it as well, next to Eye of the Storm as well. And Cloudy Night has hints of being an opera singer, kind of like how Kakyu had been in the musicals before. And I'd love to see Kakyu return in the Sailor Stars musical, which is probably going to come out in 2017, as an opera singer as well. If they choose to have her in it, which they should. And hopefully we'll see Sailor Kinmoku, but I'm getting way ahead of myself. So, they played Haruka very similar to Seiya. I mentioned earlier kind of things like where they had the R musical jump the gun with those villains, kind of like the witches, that sort of role. Haruka, male Haruka is very much like a Seiya character, coming in and gentle to Usagi to a little bit, having that kind of very masculine almost role, swooping in, but not quite the same as Seiya, like, because Mamoru obviously is with Usagi and stuff, but it's there. And so that was interesting. There's lots of use of silence, which can be a very, very well used tool if done properly, especially on the stage. And I've taken some acting and stuff, so I know a little bit about this, but it's uncomfortable silence to some degree. And it's also amazing because when you think about it, Sailor Saturn, who has a big role in well, not so much a big role, but Hotaru in general, associated with silence, it's kind of a neat little thing that goes with it. So, very, very intriguing, eerie, kind of dark, because the Infinity arc has always been kind of a darker arc, so to have that in there is quite amusing to me. Confrontation of Planets is a great song as well, pitting the Sailor Senshi against each other, the outers against the inners, and that spell. I mean, that was great too, very reminiscent of parts of the Transylvania musicals too, where Dracula would bite Uranus or Neptune or whatever they did. So I like that song too, Confrontation of Planets. Hotaru reminds me of the Phantom of the Opera a little bit, with the piano playing and just the way that they do it. I think that's just how they put her in there. Again, the planet Tau, I mentioned that earlier, it should be the Tau system. I don't think that it was ever mentioned as a planet in the manga. Just, it doesn't ring right to me. I don't know. We had Nemesis as the planet, so this should be just the solar system of Tau. I don't know. Okay. Uranus and Neptune are much closer. Their relationship is depicted much more organically and closer in this musical than in previous musicals, I think. And that's really nice to see. The actresses, you can see that they have great chemistry, and it's always good to have that between actors. Like on soap operas, for example, you want to have that chemistry to make sure that everything works, but they did very, very well together. I loved it. When did Cloudy Night get the power to raise the dead? That's quite a very powerful thing to have. So that's you got to be careful how that's handled. Now they handled it pretty good here, and maybe it's only a one-time thing, her most powerful attack, but I find that interesting again, that she has that power to raise the dead. But then again, Sailor Saturn kind of does too. There's the death and rebirth thing, which they kind of had her and Usagi have, but Saturn's always been the Senshi of death and rebirth, which is funny because technically Pluto oversees the dead. Saturn, in God, whatever, was time, so now Kotokuchi switched them. But I loved that Saturn and Pluto worked together towards the end. Pluto did the Dark Dome close, Saturn used the Death Ribbon Revolution, although I think it's supposed to be Silent Glaive Surprise, which is actually the power that does it, or at least that was in the anime that they did it. When I think of Death Ribbon Revolution, because the only thing I ever saw it in was Sailor Moon Another Story, I think of a whole bunch of ribbons that, you know, kind of would, I don't know. Maybe we'll see more of an attack thing for Sailor Saturn in the Sailor Moon Crystal version, who knows, and Super S and Stars, if Crystal goes that far, which they better. Alright, the Labyrinth. Again, it's kind of like Super S, at least in the Stars version of Super S. like with Neharenia, as they're essentially going through this labyrinth, they're all split up, they all see these dreams and stuff that they wanted to have at one point. But this time it switches because it was Usagi that saw all the flowers and stuff, and Makoto was there, Jupiter was with her. But in this musical, it was Jupiter that was with Telud. She's looking around, and Usagi's like, no, wake up, Jupiter. So, incorporating things like that from the series. There's an updated transformation song similar to the older musicals. So just as Sailor Moon's going to become Super Sailor Moon, it's very reminiscent, almost exactly, of the transformation songs that they would do back in the older musicals, but updated, and I say that with more of a today kind of feel to it. Music of the Spheres, probably one of the best group songs, battle songs. Love it, absolutely. The feels that you get from that, amazing. Super Sailor Moon's bow, in and of itself, on the back, could be like a brand new weapon for her. She doesn't need the Spiral Heart Moon Rod or any of that kind of stuff. She could just beat the crap out of people by hitting them with her bow. I mean, come on, let's be honest here. That thing is huge. And the part where she's holding the crystal and she's stumbling around and stuff like that, like, maybe that's legit. Maybe that bow is weighing her down. I mean, come on, Satomi Moon is only so big, right? I don't know. I just, you know that. So, I just think it's funny. And Un Nouveau Voyage sounds like Shadow on My Sweet Memories, back from the older musicals as well. Fumina did it, and then I think Miyuki did it as well. And I think they did a version of it with Marina Moon as well. But it just, parts of it remind me of Shadow on My Sweet Memories. So, kind of a throwback song from the older musicals. Overall, it works. I really like this one. It was really sad. You could see the emotion. You could feel it from the girls, especially at the very end, the 5 main ones. When they sang that and I Know Starshine and even Moonlight Densetsu. But Moonlight Densetsu really re-energized them, and they were able to hold their composure together than in previous incarnations, like when Anza was there. Hers was probably the most emotional goodbye I've ever seen, back in 1998 on the final first stage, Senshiraku. This one, the beginning, like I said, felt really rushed, so I could see it having a kaitaban, but they won't do that. Kaitaban is a rewrite. They always did that with the older musicals. But this, so Satomi Moon is done now, which means that we're going to likely have a new set of the 5 girls, because there hasn't been any announcements of anybody else leaving. So Yuga Yamato will be back. I'm pretty sure that the Outers will be back. The Chibiusas will probably be back, at least one of them. So we'll see how that goes. But Satomi Moon now is the least, or the shortest running of the Sailor Moons. Fumina was, but even though Fumina did 3 musicals, and technically Satomi has done 3 now, so they didn't do the revised editions. They never had as many runs as the original musicals did, so in order of longest to shortest right now, it goes Anza, Marina, Miyuki, Fumina, and then Satomi Moon. So it'll be interesting to see how things go. If they move past the Sailor Stars musical into doing something else, I would love to see another Queen Beryl Galaxia one working together. It'd be so neat to see. But who knows? So overall, I really enjoyed it, as I enjoy all the other musicals. I'm so sorry this video is so long. It's like half an hour long. I could just yatter on forever. But, I mean, you guys know me. I'm a huge Sailor Moon fan. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I'd love to see video responses. So if you do one, please link it in the description below. You can post it on my Facebook page. I love talking Sailor Moon with people, and it'd be fun to do collaborations and stuff. I've done collaborations with the V Crew, and that really just them so far. But yeah, Sailor Moon is a huge passion of mine. I am sorry to see Satomi and the others go. To me, this Moon, Mercury, Mars, and Jupiter and Venus are very, very good. Very, very good. So they're going to have their work cut out for them trying to find new ones. But I know Naoko Takuchi has her hand in picking them out, just as she does with the voice actresses and voice actors for the new Sailor Moon English dub and everything, because she's taking a lot more power with PNP Productions over the whole Sailor Moon franchise. So I'm going to leave it there. You guys have a great night. I'm going to try to go to bed. It was such a good musical. I'm so energized now. But I will see you later. Jamata ne mina. And I'd love to hear from you again. So we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.